and welcome back to the TBM crew. Today I'm so happy to have with me the lovely Ruthann Jagge. Ruthann is an established solid author who's having a growing fantastic embrace by the audience, right? How are you, Ruthann?
I'm doing wonderful, Marha.
I'm so happy to have you here because, as we were saying, we have known each other for quite a long time, and
Yes.
I was looking forward so much to talking to you. Can you tell us a bit about your style in horror? Because I know people just love it.
Start came about 2.5 years ago, and it's kind of a funny story. I entered a writing contest for a very, very big publisher. They were looking for stories for an anthology.
Yes.
I had never submitted a story before. I've always wanted to write, and I figured I might as well start someplace. So I submitted a story, and it's a huge publisher. It was way over my head. I did not have the story accepted, but the publisher wrote me back a note and said, whatever you do, please keep writing. The story is not right for this anthology, but we love your writing. So I took that as like a sign to keep writing. And then a few months later, I started submitting on a fairly regular basis and got very lucky. It was right before COVID, and very honestly, it's very difficult now to break in. In other words, when I got my start, you know how they say everything is in timing. The timing was on my side. The stars were on my side. And once I started submitting, I've been published over 20 times in a number of publications. And just recently, solo work was released. So it's been great.
Wow. I'm so happy to hear that. And what is the part that you love the most about writing a book?
What I love the most is creating characters. A lot of my characters are very strong females.
Yes.
So I get to work out a lot of life and a lot of what I think and a lot of what happens through my characters. So creating, like giving them names and personalities and actually have them come to life in the course of a story is my favorite part. Excuse me, I've got
don't worry. That's the spring. And can you relate to any of your characters?
Oh gosh, Mara, in some way I can relate to all of them.
Absolutely.
All of them have a little piece of me, whether it's something that I've experienced or maybe connected with another person or witnessed. I've traveled extensively, so a lot of the characters are based off different little situations or little quirks. You spend a lot of time sitting in airports and observing people, and I'm always kind of looking out for somebody that stands out in an unusual and sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive way. So yes, I can really relate to all of them and put myself, I can remember what I was thinking of when I created these characters. So very definitely, yes, I would say absolutely.
And when you're creating them, do you ever in your mind maybe picture some actor or actress that you would think he or she would be perfect for this character of mine if they made a film of my book? Have you ever thought of that?
Not until my novella. I never thought of that until somebody actually showed an interest in my novella, The New Girl's Patient. And the main character, Jamie Carver, is such a unique young woman. And we were watching a series on TV at the time, and we're still watching it, called Ozark. And there's a main character in that, and it's played by Julia Garner.
Yes.
And I was watching it with my husband, Mike, and I was like, oh my God, if this was ever a movie, she would be my Jamie. So I think because this is my first solo work, it's one thing when you're in collections and anthologies and you're grouped in with other people when you write.
Yes.
But when you release a solo project, it has more of your heart and soul in it. So yes, for the first time just recently, I started thinking about who I would like to play the characters in my novella. And it's kind of fun, but it's also kind of scary because when you're creating, and you're a very creative person, and I know this in your drawings, and they tend to take on a personality. And it's almost like you breathe life into these characters. So it's kind of a responsibility, and it's a little, it makes you a little like, oh my gosh, like, this person could really play my character. So it's kind of like almost you're birthing something, or you're creating a new being in that respect. So it's kind of a responsibility as a creative outlet too. We start thinking about actual humans playing your characters, or I'm sure in your case where you're drawing something and you're thinking, oh, this is really this person, and look how I just drew
absolutely.
Them. You know what I'm
Yes, exactly.
saying?
When I was a teenager, I used to draw scenes or memories or things that when something made me angry or something like that, I used to draw it. Like, I don't know, it's a kind of
I know, but it's also kind of alarming because and I've talked about this with other people I've done interviews with. The genre that we're a part of is also very cathartic.
Yes,
it is an expression, because everybody has something that is off-putting to them, or will use the word scares them, or horror has so many connections and different emotions for people. So I can see that with you through your drawings. You're working out your pain, your frustration, your anger, that type of thing. And I think a lot of authors do that through their stories and their writing. Some of them do it through their characters. I've never done it through a character, because I'm honestly pretty a lighthearted, happy person. I just like to write really hard. But it is very cathartic for a lot of people, either the process of creating or the process of reading in the genre that we favor, the dark speculative fiction world. So
yes, absolutely. Maybe when someone annoys you, you're like, in my next book, you're gonna die.
I have not done that. I know authors who do. I have friends that actually they base it on other authors, and I know I was killed off in a book. I think Arthur Wills and Jason Myers made me a witch and killed me off, and that's fine, because that's friends, and it's actually kind of an honor to be killed off in a book. So it's really kind of a cool thing. That's a bonus of having friends that are authors and artists and that type of thing. Because, oh, look, you were the inspiration for this. And then boom, you get a stake through the heart or something.
And would you take one of your side characters and do something with them, like a different kind of a story or a spin-off or something like that? Any character that you say, maybe it's secondary on your story or your book, but you find it interesting, like a side idea in the back of your mind. Do you have any of those?
Oh yes, many. Yeah, there are a few, and it's funny because after 2.5 years, you don't like, it's almost, I tend to be pretty humble about what we do. I've got a lot to learn still. But yes, I have people who message me and write to me and they say, well, I want to know more about this character, or I'd like to know her backstory. There was one in particular. It's an anthology called The Dire Circle, and D&T Publishing released it. It's about the dark zodiac. And I created a very interesting female character in my story, but there was another female character in the story who was actually more or less a trained assassin, but she had been born into a cult, and her name was Rose. And I have probably had 10 messages saying, we want more of Rose. We want to know more of Rose. And she was very definitely a secondary character. So she's kind of filed away in the back burner, and someday there may be something that comes up that I could write more about her story and embellish and flesh her out a little bit more and make her a little more three-dimensional. But yeah, it's funny because a lot of times the characters do resonate more with the readers.
Yes.
There was another one that I did. It was Fairy Tale Horror Show, and that's Crimson Pinnacle Press, and it was a retelling of fairy tales.
Yes.
Well, I did a retelling of Cinderella, but my Cinderella character was her benefactors were actually connected to the mob. They were gangsters. So there was a character in there. I had an enforcer, and he really wasn't a very nice guy, but he had a heart of gold. His name was Hamburger Mike. And a lot of people wanted to know more about his story. So there may probably have to be a light-hearted story, because these are characters that they're kind of one-dimensional. Like they have a feature, or they do some kind of thing, or they kill people terrible ways.
Yeah.
It's not like I could build a whole book off of them, but I could definitely tell a little bit more about what makes them tick, which is kind of fun. Yeah, so sure.
And in any of your books, have you done that thing that readers hate, that is to make them love so much a character without giving any spoilers, and then killing them so all the readers get upset with you? Have you done that? Because that happened to me once. I still have that.
I think in my novella that I just recently released, there is a female character. There's 3 young women that are main characters. And yes, one of them doesn't make it. And a lot of people, because she's a very soft character in her life, she's very loving and very generous. A lot of people, they were like, why did you have to kill her? You know, people that I was talking, you kill this other one. Why'd you have to kill the good girl? You know, that kind of thing. But once again, I think in this genre, it's important, and I don't write for shock factor, though I do not believe in censorship. I believe that if you've got something to write, you should say it, regardless of, you know, there's always going to be somebody that has a protest that is, use the word, triggered against it or something. But I think when we kill authors, sometimes it adds more impact to the story, because you may be trying to show that the person who's responsible for it is your monster, or is truly this bad of a person, or a being, or whatever, a devil, a monster, whatever you want to call it. So I think sometimes when we kill off these characters that may be more gentle characters, it really delivers a lot more to our readers. And as you know, people who read horror have high expectations. They want, you know, they know what they like, and they're not going to settle. They're going to, if you wimp out, you pull back on that, they're not going to like that. They're going to say, well, you went all the way there, and then you know, you gave her an out. So sometimes you got to kill the bunny, you know. You gotta kill the bunny for this